When it comes to global trade routes, most people think of the Suez Canal or the Strait of Malacca. However, while the world's attention has been focused on these choke spots, something significant is taking place in the Arctic, a move that is transforming not only maps, but also the dynamics of global commerce. Russia has been progressively investing in the Northern Sea Route, NSR, transforming cold seas into a vital route for commodities traveling between Europe and Asia. If you haven't been paying attention to the Arctic, it's time to start. For decades, global trade was based on routes that went through important choke points, such as the Suez Canal, Panama Canal, and the Strait of Hormuz. While these channels are still important, they pose concerns. Congestion, piracy, geopolitical instability, and the rare ship getting trapped may all disrupt global supply systems. Russia's Arctic development provides an option. The Northern Sea Route is shorter, quicker, and currently less crowded. Consider this: the NSR can shorten shipping delays between Europe and Asia by up to 2 weeks. That is not a tiny change. It is a logistical breakthrough. The NSR's freight transit is expected to increase by 40% by 2024, indicating that global players are beginning to recognize its potential. The question is not if the NSR will affect trade, but how fast. The Arctic may appear to be an unusual center of global trade, but it is quickly becoming one. Climate change, while disputed, is playing a role here. As ice covering thins, formerly inaccessible waters become accessible, and Russia is prepared. Russia has spent considerably in making the Northern Sea Route operational year-round, investing billions in infrastructure and deploying the world's largest fleet of icebreaker ships. These investments are not only for show. They are guaranteeing that Arctic shipping is competitive with established routes. But it's more than simply shipping. The Arctic is also a rich source of undeveloped resources. The potential for oil, gas, and rare minerals is tremendous. Russia's control of major entry points does more than merely facilitate trade. It is also establishing itself as a gatekeeper to the Arctic's wealth. To understand why the Northern Sea Route is such a significant changer, consider Russia's actions behind the scenes. First, there is the growth of ports and rail lines. Ports such as Lavna are being improved and connected to rail networks, resulting in integrated logistical hubs. These are not simply for home usage. They're intended to facilitate international trade by increasing efficiency across global supply networks. Next, Russia's superiority in icebreaker technology offers it a significant advantage. With over 40 icebreakers, including nuclear-powered ones, Russia has ensured that the NSR can operate even during the worst Arctic winters. No other country approaches this degree of readiness. Then there's the increase in energy exports from the Arctic. Oil exports have soared, demonstrating how useful the NSR is for transferring commodities. However, overcoming the Arctic's intense weather and environmental difficulties demands ongoing innovation. Russia's Arctic development provides Europe with a tough dilemma. On the one hand, the Northern Sea Route has the potential to considerably benefit European economies by providing faster and more cost-effective access to Asia. Scandinavian nations in particular hope to benefit from shorter maritime routes and less reliance on southern choke points such as the Suez Canal. But there is a catch. By incorporating the NSR into their supply networks, European countries risk expanding their reliance on Russia, which already has substantial influence over Europe's energy demands. This became painfully obvious during the energy crisis that followed the Ukraine conflict as Europe sought to diversify away from Russian oil and gas. Despite this, several European maritime corporations are pursuing cooperation with Russia to get access to the Northern Sea Route. For the time being, most of Europe's Arctic policy is focused on establishing renewable energy projects in the region and improving cooperation with NATO partners to offset Russia's expanding influence. Russia is not navigating the Arctic expansion alone. China has discreetly entered the scene, proclaiming itself a near-Arctic state and making significant investments in the region. From infrastructure developments to trade relationships, China sees the NSR as an important connection in its Belt and Road Initiative. Russia and China's cooperation in the Arctic is changing global alliances. With their combined resources, the two states are threatening conventional Western supremacy in commerce and geopolitical. For the United States and its allies, this developing relationship serves as a wake-up call. While Russia solidifies its footprint in the Arctic, the United States has struggled to stay up. The United States Coast Guard, which handles much of America's Arctic activities, has just 2 active icebreakers, compared to Russia's fleet of more than 40. Efforts to upgrade this fleet have been delayed, with financing delays and regulatory roadblocks putting the U.S. at a strategic disadvantage. However, in recent years, the United States has shifted its objectives. The Biden administration unveiled the 2024 Arctic Strategy, which seeks to increase financing for icebreaker building, enhance Arctic infrastructure, and strengthen collaboration with allies such as Canada. Despite these ambitions, the United States lags years behind Russia, increasing fears among politicians about losing influence in the area. Adding to the problem, the United States is seeking to offset Russia and China's expanding partnership in the Arctic. American officials have warned that this alliance might change global trade and energy markets, becoming an economic bloc that ignores Western interests. The development of the NSR has the potential to transform supply chains. Companies are expected to shift their focus to Arctic routes due to shorter trip times and reduced prices. 2 is a change in power dynamics. Controlling the Arctic provides Russia an advantage in global trade, energy, and geopolitics. Step 3 is to form new alliances. Countries such as China are already collaborating with Russia to benefit on Arctic prospects, possibly isolating Western countries. While the NSR is a game changer, it is not without hazards, including environmental problems. Increased activity in the Arctic raises concerns about the vulnerable ecology. 2. Operational challenges. Extreme weather, limited infrastructure, and geopolitical conflicts may all hamper Arctic trade. 3rd, reliance on Russia. Using Russian-controlled networks poses political and economic dangers in Europe and Asia. These problems are not deterring Russia. If anything, they're doubling down on the Arctic as a key component of their long-term plan. Russia's Arctic expansion is only the beginning. With ongoing investments in infrastructure, technology, and partnerships, the route is poised to become one of the world's most vital commercial corridors. For Europe, Asia, and beyond, this means adjusting to a new reality in which Arctic seas are at the heart of world trade. For the United States and its allies, the Arctic represents a lost opportunity that is swiftly becoming a geopolitical threat. If they do not act quickly, the balance of power in global commerce may alter forever. In reaction to Russia's supremacy, NATO has increased its Arctic presence. NATO soldiers held joint military drills in the region in 2024 to test their capacity to operate in harsh weather. These workouts are not merely for defense. They also send a clear message to Russia that the West is paying careful attention. Meanwhile, Canada, a crucial NATO member with extensive Arctic territory, is working with the United States to construct its own fleet of icebreakers and strengthen Arctic ports. However, Western nations have a common challenge: a lack of coordinated investment. Without a united Arctic policy, their efforts may be eclipsed by Russia's well-funded and concentrated approach. The Arctic is no longer merely a regional concern. It is increasingly at the center of global power conflicts. Russia and China's growing cooperation is changing alliances as Western nations race to establish a presence in the area. With the Arctic's immense riches and vital trade routes at stake, the question isn't simply who controls the region, but who dictates the future of global trade. Russia's Arctic development is more than simply icebreakers and shipping channels. It is also about influencing the future of trade and geopolitics. As the NSR expands, The world will need to consider what this implies for trade, alliances, and global power. The narrative is not over. The Arctic may appear to be a tranquil frontier, but make no mistake. It is quickly becoming one of the most important battlegrounds in the war for global control.